and welcome to your Friday pod here on Four Lads Had a Dream. I don't know what to call this one because I started doing the weekly pod, but then we've got 2 a week now, so who knows. Anyway, I'm joined tonight by 3 of my very favourite co-hosts. First of all, Stevie, then
Hello.
Shona, and Kenny. I don't know, I just thought I'd make that as awkward as possible for you, Stevie.
Thanks, mate. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I'm still sorry, folks, that everybody had to explain to me how to work my light that I've just bought for the podcasting, and the answer was just turn the on button. So,
well, the one you insisted to Kenny that it was dead easy to use as well, despite never having used it yourself.
Well, Kenny hadn't even plugged it in, so at least I got further than him.
That's true. That's true. You know, we shouldn't be slinging arrows here or anything like that. Listen, we got plenty of news to discuss tonight. We have a new signing. Very exciting. Probably not one that, you know, we were massively surprised by, but a new signing nonetheless. But before we get to that, we have the fixture list has been announced for Rangers. So first 4 are Hearts away, Motherwell, and then Ross County at home. Wherever that will be, and then Celtic away. So we know when the first Old Firm will be as well. It's always good to get these in the diary. It means folk can start planning out what they're going to be doing. Ultimately, you're going to be playing all these teams at least 3 times this season, and then we'll get to the split. But it still helps provide a bit of clarity and a bit of structure to the season. It also means that we can sort of attempt to ascribe some sort of timeline as to when we'll be back at Ibrox, given the away and then home kind of fixtures. But it just means that we have a clearer idea of how the season might pan out. Kenny, I mean, in terms of the full fixture list, was there anything in particular that stood out to you?
No, not really. I just always look at Stevie's laughing, but I do always just look at the Celtic fixtures and see where they are. January the 2nd. Is our first game at home against them. We're early with 4th game in against them. So that kind of thing is the thing I look at. Always look at the first few fixtures. You're always interested in that. Hearts away. That kind of doesn't surprise me. We always get a tough one. Yeah. We always tend to get a tough fixture, first game of the season. So, no, listen, it's exactly what you said. You can start to plan. You can start to look at what you want to do over courses of weekends and stuff like that. So for me, more than anything else that I noticed, it was more that you've got 2 home fixtures in August, and then there's only 2 fixtures in total in September. So that's going to help us, I think, in terms of getting back to Ibrox and not losing, or not having to manoeuvre and move too many fixtures about. Wherever it is we're going to end up playing. So that might help us, because I was really surprised at that. But then I heard that there was no winter break this year, which I didn't know either. So all in all, it's just nice to have a look at it, and actually there's a feel of it that's it kind of starting to crank up a little bit and start to move forward, and the season's going to kick in soon. So apart from that, it's just fixtures, isn't it? It's just a list of fixtures. So you just go on, you just look at it and say, right, fair enough. But the home fixtures are the ones that I would say that are quite suitable for us, actually. And they're not easy. Neither of them are going to be easy fixtures. But in terms of playing them away from Ibrox, you should be looking at winning these games. So that was it, really. That's all I kind of took from it, Andrew.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, the kind of winter fixtures, December, January, obviously look a little bit healthier, given that we don't have that winter break in there. It means that December's not quite as insane as it normally is, even though it's still got, the most fixtures out of any month at all during the season, which is always kind of just a weird oddity for me. But I suppose, it's what it is. Shona, I mean, for you, anything in particular that jumped out there, or is it just, it's the fixtures, let's get ready to rumble?
Well, I think every Rangers fan is looking what the opening fixtures were going to be in August, because obviously we won't be playing at Ibrox. And I think if you're going to get Motherwell and Ross County as your 2 home games, then look, I think you couldn't possibly ask for probably 2 of the most not easiest fixtures, because we did lose against Motherwell and Ross County towards the end of last season. But I think if you look at those 2, it probably suits us a little bit better. Where we play those fixtures, I'm not too sure. I think a lot of the fans are obviously looking for some sort of kind of transparency over, like, for instance, what's going to be happening, where we're going to play in these fixtures. But I think a lot of that is down to the fact that they're still in talks with the SFA over Hampden and Murrayfield. And I think a lot of the factor would probably be a case of where Hearts going to be playing, because I would imagine if Hearts were playing at home and Rangers wanted to play at Murrayfield, then there probably would be some sort of like there'd be a wee bit of an issue there with the policing sort of thing. So I think everyone's just looking for a contingency plan. Sorry, that's the best word to use. A contingency plan to put in place. So I think as of next week, that'll probably be something that Rangers will probably want to look at and speed up the process. And obviously a lot of the fans are probably looking to see what they can do for travel arrangements. I think that's the main thing. I think that's what the fans are getting a wee bit frustrated by. But as long as they get these things in place weeks in advance, then I think the fans will be a little bit happier as to where we're going with this. And then I think the one that stood out for me was probably that away fixture at the end of August against Celtic, because that will probably land straight after a Champions League qualifier. So that's probably the one for me that it seems to want to stand out. But like, I think apart from that, I think we can look through the rest of the fixtures, and like the winter break, obviously, that comes into play. I think we've got quite a decent December than what we usually have, especially if we're in the Champions League. At that point, there'll be Champions League games. So overall, like, what else can you take from it? I think at the end of the day, people could always look at that August, and I think there is people talking about rumours because there's only 2 games in September. That also allows us to have that wee bit of extra room if there is any sort of delay towards the steelworks. But I would imagine that won't be the case. I think Rangers will try and stick to that plan of being finished by the end of August. So yeah, I think a lot of the fans are probably just now wanting to get some contingency plans put in place as to what's going to happen and where we'll be travelling to.
Indeed. We do have, I think there'll be a League Cup fixture that will fall between the Old Firm and then the Dundee United game. So that potentially becomes a factor. But if it's a run of away fixtures from the end of August through to basically the end of September, before we're back at home, it does give you that more kind of wiggle room, I guess, if you like, to get things in place. Stevie, obviously we still don't have confirmation on where Rangers will be playing the home fixtures until Ibrox is back in fighting shape, but I think it's not unreasonable to be expecting that to be confirmed relatively soon, as Shona says, for fans to start making travel arrangements, etc.
Yeah, I would think so. I just have to say, Kenny, I wasn't laughing at you, my man. I get criticism off all yous because I sit with a dour face, apparently, so I was just trying to smile. That's all I was
Just a
doing.
happy man.
Yeah, I was just trying to be jolly. But anyway, yeah, fixture list, Andrew. I think, hopefully we should know. Shona actually made a very good point on chat this morning that, maybe have to wait and find out what Hearts and Hibs and things are doing as well before we can potentially properly confirm any Murrayfield kind of trip and things like that. So, potentially in between that Motherwell and Ross County game, there might be a League Cup fixture as well on that midweek on that weekend. Sorry, so we might have a wee run there of trips to Edinburgh, but it's fine. I think the things that stand out for me is that we've got the tough run away from home first, and then like you guys were saying, that middle period where it's normally festivities and all that kind of stuff, where we do go away from home and they're difficult. We don't have that, but then it goes again. But what that also should mean technically is when we get into the split, that we should have 3 games at home and 2 of them away. But here's a wee bit for you. I don't know, Kenny will know where I'm going with this, I think. But January the 2nd, we play Celtic, and then on the 5th, we play Hibs away. Last time that happened was 1998. A certain Eric Bo Anderson got 2 in a 3-1 win in the Old Firm derby on that very day, on the 2nd of January. And then we went to Hibernian and we asked for the game to get called off. There was 13 out with a flu bug, and we ended up winning that one 2-1 as well. Eric Bo Anderson on the score sheet as well. So I recently met Eric Bo Anderson, and I'm not sure that he could pitch up again. He's enjoyed life after football, a bit like myself, except if no football. But yeah, we would like another Eric Bo Anderson hero in the middle of that. So that popped up for me, just clutching at anything I possibly can to make me feel good about the fixture list. But you're all right. We play everybody, don't we? So we always start with a tough game. If you don't win the league, you're always away from home. It's always a tricky game. Last year it was Kilmarnock, and that went swimmingly, didn't it? So this time it's Tynecastle. So we start as we end last year, and yeah, it's fine, isn't it? The qualifier after playing Celtic after the Champions League tie has never worked out for us, even under Steven Gerrard. I think we lost every single time, because I remember Parkhead, we got beat 1-0, then we got beat 2-0 at Ibrox, and certainly after Champions League games. So, yeah, we'll just need to be ready. I think that's where it is. It's going to be already a big ask, not having Ibrox behind us. But as Kenny pointed out, the fact that we don't come back to Ibrox until September the 28th after that gap, hopefully is going to help us, and hopefully it'll give Rangers a wee bit of time to get that in order. And yeah, in answer to your original question, hopefully we'll be hearing proper plans next week. I don't think that's too unfair.
Cool. I think given that we need to notify UEFA where we're going to be playing, our European fixtures as well, I think that has to be confirmed kind of sooner rather than later. So, and yeah, in the Old Firm game as well, we'll have some fans there for the first time in a wee while. So that'd be nice as well. Anyway, moving on, we have a new signing to announce, and it's a familiar face, kind of one we were expecting. Liam Kelly returning to Ibrox, having left us in 2018, comes back on a 2-year deal. And I think the notion is that will kind of facilitate Ross McCrory exiting the club to find some first team football. So, I think it's a sensible signing. We don't lose a Scottish player out of the mix. He's club trained as well, so we retain that advantage for the European squad. And yeah, it's all kind of sensible given that he's at the end of the contract. He was a free agent effectively. And yeah, just a good pickup to have. But Shona, I know that you have prepared a raft of stats, so I'll step aside and let you dive into those.
Yeah, I think I've already gone through these before, but anyone that hasn't watched the pod before, this is kind of just a wee bit of a breakdown on Liam Kelly coming back to Rangers, so we welcome him back. But yeah, he's 28 years of age, he's right-footed, he's 6 foot. He's had 38 appearances in League 3, appearances in the Scottish Cup. He's conceded around about 1.6 goals per game. His penalty saves is 2 out of 8 this season, with saves per game is around about 62%, which is about 2.6. Goals conceded 59. Outside the box, he's only conceded 5 goals, and inside the box is 54. So that may be quite telling about the Motherwell defence this year. Saves made, 97 saves made. Inside the box, 63 he's actually saved inside the box, even though he's got a really high ratio of saving inside the box, but obviously conceding quite a lot as well. So that just kind of gives you an indication of the Motherwell defence this year. Outside the box, he's had 30 passing accuracy, it's 51%. So it's quite low for his passing accuracy. And in his own half, it's been 84%. So that maybe kind of gives you a wee telling story about he's more comfortable passing within his own half than maybe is going direct. So yeah, and passing accuracy into the opposition half is 35%. So that kind of gives you that balance. Long ball accuracy is 38%. Clean sheets 3. Total duels won is 86%, ground duels won 67%, and aerial duels won, which is quite telling, 94%. So look, I think we were telling everybody before, obviously Jack Butland came in, that we needed a goalkeeper that was obviously going to be very good in the air, and I think at 94% to win those aerial duels won is quite a high percentage. So I'll pass it on to you guys, but I think this is quite a decent backup. He's obviously knows the club as well. He's been here before. He's got that first team experience. And look, I think at the age of 28, it's probably get a decent pay packet. So for him to come from Motherwell to here. So yeah, and obviously he was part of nearly said England squad. So you may want to click that one up later. Andrew, he's part of the Scotland squad in the Euros, which obviously wasn't very successful. But look, I think this one is a pretty decent signing. If you're going to get a backup to Robbie McCrory, I think this is the one that you want.
No, I think that's all fair, and yeah, I didn't realise he was quite that good in the air, so that's excellent as well. Listen, Stevie, I think it is a sensible one. I think folk may complain that why did we let him go if the plan was always to bring him back. I don't think he's really being brought in as a first team player. I think it's obviously there if he wants to try and take gloves from Jack Butland, but as a backup goalkeeper, as someone who we're maybe looking at as a cup keeper, I think it's a sensible decision to make. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just echo what Shona said. Really, it does make sense. I don't think he had his best season last year, but I think statistically and performance-wise, he's been really consistent otherwise. So I'm all in favour of it. It keeps my home quota, doesn't it, for Europe for Football Manager, which is really important to me. and he's a decent enough signing and backup. So yeah, I mean, some things are no-brainers without using that old term that people love and hate, I suppose. We're going to lose Robbie McCrory, not because we want to. I will add we've done everything we can to try and keep him. He wants to go and he wants to play first-team football. Big handsome Jack's not going anywhere soon, so that's not going to happen for Robbie McCrory. So, we wish him all the best, and somebody will pick him up for $500,000, and hopefully we'll get a good sale on because he is a cracking goalkeeper. Liam Kelly will be absolutely fine. I've no concerns about that. I think it's just, as I said, a no-brainer. Makes sense in a window where we have to be sensible. I think he's a good squad player to have.
Cool. Kenny, I don't imagine that you've got anything vastly different, but yeah.
No, the only thing I would add to it is that, we're all talking about Robbie McCrory, but we've already lost John McLaughlin anyway, so we needed another goalkeeper, and we needed, in my opinion, we need a Scottish goalkeeper, particularly if Robbie McCrory is going out. And I'm a little bit like Stevie. I don't think he had a particularly good season last season with Motherwell, but I don't think Motherwell defensively, as Shona said, were good at all. So over the piece, he knows the club. He's a good, experienced keeper. He's played, I don't know, I think something like 250, 300 games in the Premier League, if I remember right. That's an experienced goalkeeper. And look, we have Kieran Wright there and the boy Munn's there. We've got some good keepers there anyway. So, I'm not too concerned about Robbie McCrory going. I think the time is right for him. I think he has to go and try and find himself some football. And rightly so, because he's a good keeper. But my kind of gut feeling on it is that if John McLaughlin's away and the wage that he was on, I think we'll be bringing Kelly in on probably less money than he was on, and he's probably a better goalkeeper. So I'm quite happy with the way that is. It's just almost like a like for like for me, but not necessarily, with what you guys have been saying about McCrory. It's more McLaughlin for me. It's more a straight replacement for McLaughlin, actually, for me.
I think that's absolutely fair, mate. And yeah, with Mason Munn, I believe, signing a new deal this week as well, that ties him down for the future as well. So we know that we've got a long-term option, even if Stevie, he's not Scottish born, unfortunately, Northern Ireland. So your ratio on Foot Manager is going to be entirely knackered because of that.
No, that's not true though, Andrew, because you signed him young enough that he'll be home trained. Don't you worry about that. So
there we go.
He just needs a couple of years. It's the old Bailey Rice thing, isn't it? About signing him young so that when he's there between 16 and 21, he then becomes our homegrown product, most like what Chelsea did with Billy, really. So, yep,
sure.
That's how it works. So, no, I'm relaxed about that. By the way, a 4-year deal for that kid speaks volumes of what we think.
It's faith, right?
About his ability, because you look at the young players never get deals that long. And if we're firing out a 4-year deal, and by the way, he does have a very good reputation, and I'll look forward to seeing how he progresses. It's nice, isn't it? It's nice to have somebody that you can kind of say, well, we'll look forward to seeing him hopefully in a couple of years.
No, absolutely. And I should have known better. Much like with Shona and stats, I should never have messed with you when it comes to, squad management. So defer to your expertise, Stevie, as ever. I'm going to stay with you, Stevie, just to touch on an interesting story that came out this week. I think it was first reported by the Daily Mail, the Daily Record, up north of the border, that if Tavernier was to leave, then Jack Butland will be given the captaincy. Now, that was a correction to their earlier story, which was when Tav leaves, the captaincy would go to Butland. So, I mean, it's a point we've discussed plenty on the podcast ourselves in terms of what Tav's future is. In terms of who you give the captaincy to, I think that's probably sensible. Butland is a leader within that locker room. But, I mean, some people took it as a kind of tacit admission that Tav was leaving this season. But, I obviously want to get your thoughts and views on that.
I think the thing was the original story said that James Tavernier was definitely leaving and that Jack Butland is the new Rangers captain and had already been told. That's categorically not true. James Tavernier is the Rangers captain and will remain Rangers captain for the length of time that he's at the club. That won't change. That's not going to change. So if James Tavernier's a Rangers player, he is the Rangers captain. You'll then notice that story quickly changed within an hour, and I'll leave it all to your imagination of why that did happen. And it doesn't take too much to understand why it happened, because if a story is completely false, it very quickly gets changed. And I think that it then changed to, if James Tavernier leaves, Jack Butland could become Rangers captain. And I think if you asked any of us, and you have asked previously about who would be the new captain if James Tavernier was to leave, we would all say Jack Butland. So I think, we've got to be really careful here when we're talking about James Tavernier, because, like it or not, James Tavernier's given us 9 years service, and he deserves, I think, to be treated at least properly. We can all have our opinions, and I've been really strong on James Tavernier. I think the time's right, and I will not be two-faced and go back on that opinion. I think the time's right for quite a few big players, but I wouldn't go against James Tavernier and say that he's been stripped of captaincy. And what was suggested was that he'd been told he was no longer captain, and Jack Butland was captain in front of the squad and the club and everything else. And that's just not Philip Clement's way. If anybody knows him, and I'm not saying that I know him, but in telling like of his kind of character and things like that, he doesn't behave in that way, and he certainly wouldn't do that. So I think it was just a wee bit of 2 and 2 together make 6, and we've got a story from potential stories that are doing the round on WhatsApp and things like that. So I'm not commenting on James Tavernier's future. I think that has been done to death, and we'll find out, won't we, in coming weeks, what's going to happen with James. But I think this particular story, I felt sorry for James a wee bit in terms of thinking that, he would be stripped of captaincy. The way it was made out, told that he's no longer captain, Jack Butland was, and he would be getting sold and stuff like that. It just would never happen. We talk about harmony in the dressing room and stuff, which Clement's trying to build this summer. He's certainly not going to do that, Andrew. So Tavernier will be captain at Rangers Football Club while he's still here. What happens in his future, we'll find out very soon. But I didn't like that story as such because of I just felt it was unfair on Tav and things like that. If Tav goes, he goes, right? We can all understand that, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't. And things, as I just said, I just think we owe him a bit more than clickbait massive headlines saying that he's been dumped as captain and somebody new's in, and he's just going to have to put up with it until he goes. I don't think that's right.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm not above clickbait because we'll have Captain Butland Rumours right there in the YouTube title, as folk can see right now. But beyond, but we're setting the record straight, so it's different because we're on the good side, you see. So it's fine. Shona, I mean, from your perspective, then, obviously, we know that it's a rumour. We know that Tav is still the captain. If Tav goes, and as is rumoured, if Goldson goes as well, I mean, do you see Butland as an effective captaincy replacement? And who do you take as your vice captain there as well?
I think he's your obvious one to look at, but I'm just not a fan of having goalkeepers as your captain these days. So I think this is why I think a lot of the Rangers players are looking at experience, wanting experience to come in. So I don't know who you would put then down as your vice captain. I think I said to Stevie the other day, I think the only person that you possibly could have as your vice captain is probably somebody like Dijon Sterling, who's obviously shown that, but apart from that, you really are clutching at straws. Maybe John Suter, maybe is one probably there is to be your vice captain. So that's the two ones I think the fans would probably want to look at. But I'm with Stevie at this moment in time, where I think Tav's had a bit of a hard week when he came with obviously his own media team came out with a clip on was it Instagram, wasn't it? So of all of his highlights of last year, that wasn't Tav, and obviously I think everyone then jumped on that. And then everyone seems to be jumping on him for obviously the same reasons as what the newspaper reported the other week. And that newspaper clip has now been taken down indefinitely. So I think what we need to do is, as Rangers fans, we still need to support the players whilst they're here at our football club. And if Tav is here next season, we still need to support him as captain, and we need to support the rest that are around him. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, yes, Tav has got his faults, but what it means to me is that it's not just one person that goes on to win your trophies, it's what a team does. So, look, I think it's a wee bit unfair, like what the amount of abuse that Tav's taken over the past week, and I really do hope that a lot of this clickbait stuff does stop. And look, if he does leave, and that is the case, then fair enough. I think we'll all hold our hands up and say, look, what he's done, the goals, contributions that he's given to us in the previous 9 years. But I think at this moment in time, guys, we just need to try and get off some of the players' backs, because we've managed to get rid of quite a lot of players, and I see people out there now already having a go at the likes of Kenny McLean, saying that John Lundstrom was a better player than Kenny McLean. Look, about 3-4 months ago, every single Rangers player wanted rid of John Lundstrom, and now they're now saying that Kenny McLean. So you just, honestly, I think with Rangers fans, it's really difficult to try and get that balance. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. I totally agree with that. But I think at this moment in time, I think Tav is taking quite a rough ride, and we don't know what's happening with him yet. And until that day comes, I think we've just got to try and support them.
I think that's absolutely fair. I mean, it's a Rangers support. We know that we can have some pretty varied opinions there. We can have some pretty reactionary opinions as well. Group chat that me and Kenny in had us already written off as losing the league when the fixtures came out, through no other reason apart from the fixtures came out. Obviously, the league campaign's doomed. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, and it's a nice idea. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I completely agree with the sentiment, let's say. Kenny, I mean, from your perspective, these rumours are floated around for a reason, right? The Saudi links continue to be out there for Tav leaving. But as the guys have said, he's here at the moment. He's staying as the captain for now. Honestly, if we get a better squad around him, I don't see him as the main reason. I've been critical of Tav myself in the past, over the past kind of 6 months while we've been in the podcast, and I kind of stand by a lot of that, because I do feel like he's slowed down a bit. But ultimately, as Shona has said, it's a team game. It took the team together to lose the league last season, and it'll be the team working together to win the league, we hope, this coming season. So I don't know, where do you kind of sit on this one?
Well, I instantly thought back when Stevie and Shona were talking there to a few weeks back in our group chat, and Stu, our graphics guy, put a wonderful post on there about Tavernier that made me think and take a step back about, not about us in the chat necessarily, but more about what Shona's just commented on there. The whole furore about him at the minute is just getting a bit silly. The guy, you and I, had a chat on the previous pod that we did, Andrew, about Tavernier, and I remember distinctly saying that, he's a Hall of Famer and he deserves to be in the Rangers Hall of Fame. And that is a bone of contention for a lot of people. People don't want guys that are still playing in it, or he hasn't won enough, or he has. Listen, the service this guy has given us, it doesn't just merit a bit, it demands a bit of respect. Now, the last few months, his form dropped off the cliff. We all know that, but he's still the Rangers captain, and I do feel sometimes that I'm just maybe a bit old school, and I think that deserves a lot more respect than the guy's getting at the minute. Because I did find that particular article that we're discussing here, once we were informed, particularly by Stevie there, but that it was a load of nonsense, that you think, well, why would you do that? And then you stop and you realise, well, it's a daily record and it's kind of what they do, and it is clickbait, and that's all it is. But my opinion on James Tavernier is that he's the Rangers captain. He's a Hall of Famer. Had a poor time of it towards the end of last season. Seems to be taking the brunt of the responsibility and the blame for that, because he is the captain. Has he won enough? No. Over the piece. But neither have any of them. He's not alone. It's a team game, and it's something that does my absolute head in when it comes to, people at times that they blame individuals in a team game. And yeah, players make mistakes, but it's a team game. So my take on James Tavernier is, if he does go, and we don't know if he is or he isn't, but if he does go, he goes with my best wishes. And I hope he goes to Saudi Arabia and makes an absolute fortune, because he deserves it. That's what I would say, honestly.
And do you know what, right? Another thing as well, that I know a lot of the fans are getting on his back at the moment, and they keep on saying he's not captain material. Well, see, apart from this season, how come in the past, 3 or 4 years, his peers have voted for him as Player of the Year every single year? So people to turn around and say he's not a captain, it's what he does obviously behind the scenes. And I know he might not be as much vocal on the pitch, but I can guarantee you he must have so much respect for with the guys that are in his team for them to be voting him for consistently. It's not just, and he's consistently in the team of the year as well. So, look, I know he gets his critics and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think you've got to look in reflection and think of what has he actually done and how much is he respected in that dressing room. And I think it's clear to see that he is respected.
Completely echo what you guys have said. Listen, folks, we've talked about a lot of things. It's been lovely talking to you, as ever. Always is.
Stevie falling asleep.
Stevie doesn't get to speak. Stevie, your thoughts, your views, your opinions. Always valid.
No,
always welcomed.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. Numbers incredible. We're really enjoying it. And yeah, just keep an eye on our socials, because some good stuff coming up, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get some signing news very soon.
There we go. Love to hear that. I'd echo what Stevie said. I mean, I'm going to thank my two lovely co-hosts in just a second, but before I do, I'd like to point out a stat from our YouTube analytics. Currently, we get, a healthy number of views. About 66% of those are people who are subscribed to the channel, and that's great. It means you find out when the videos come out. A third aren't even subscribed. It costs you nothing. Click the button. It helps out. It helps us out. It'll help you out too. So do that. Click the little bell as well. You get notifications. Like the video, all that stuff. It helps us grow. It helps us continue to do the work. Well, Stevie and Shona to do the work, I guess. Me and Kenny are just kind of here, really. But it means that we can help the podcast continue to grow and do good stuff with it as well. And as Stevie says, I'm aware of some of the exciting things coming up. And I encourage folk to stay clicked in, because that way you'll be the first to see them. My two other lovely co-hosts. First of all, Shona, always a pleasure. Thank you again for making us look like we do research here.
No, thanks very much, guys. And just, I want to reiterate what everybody's watching and subscribing. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And we do have some interesting stuff coming up. So just be aware and absolutely subscribe and click that notification button, because it's interesting what we've got coming up.
And finally, Kenny, mate, we've been in this for a while, doing this together. It's been fun doing it. At least that's what I'm going to tell you publicly. Slag you off behind your back to Stevie all the time, but it's what it is. But honestly, mate, always a pleasure, never a chore.
No, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for hosting. Thanks, Shona, for keeping the band together here every week. And doesn't Stevie look cute with his new ring light? Stunning.
Folks, as ever, it's a pleasure. We wouldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without you. And we thank you for continuing to tune in. We've said it before, we'll say it again. Your support is still surprising and shocking to us, quite frankly, in the numbers that you guys are turning out. But we encourage you to keep doing it, because it will keep helping us do good things. And until we talk to you again, bye for now.
I'm just literally reading Andrew's idiot guide, and he's circled it. Big red letters. Like, actually, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, see when he's circled the bits what I've got to do.
Is it useful, Steve? Is it helpful?
Very helpful, mate. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Then I did it for a reason.
There's a message deleted halfway through, which is clearly going, "Here's your idiot guide, you fucking moron."
I'd never leave that publicly available.